You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. On this episode, I'm delighted to feature a conversation with Fredrik Granberg, the drummer for Randy, sometimes known as Randy the Band, from Sweden. Throughout the course of their career, Randy evolved from an ultra-fast punk band with distinct comparisons to How to Clean Everything, I'd Rather Be Flag Burning, and Less Talk, More Rock era propaganda, into a sound inspired by rock and roll like the Ramones, Thin Lizzy, and maybe some international noise conspiracy. Randy put out records on Epitaph, Burning Heart, Fat Wreck, and appropriately for this podcast, G7 Welcoming Committee Records. On this episode, Fredrik and I discuss Randy's early sound, getting to know propaganda, and joining the G7 roster, their G7 releases, the Cheater EP and the LP You Can't Keep a Good Band Down, the ill-fated summer and fall 2001 tour, which got canceled due to 9/11, and jamming in Jord's basement. This was a great chat with Fredrik from the legendary Randy, and I hope you love it. So leading in, let's hear a snippet of Randy's At Any Cost from their 1996 LP, The Rest is Silence. Enjoy.
I don't keep the lights when I'm away. I don't go to shop the street. I don't keep my car out running around and spare both air and money and gasoline. My conscience still ain't clean. I just not to participate for the things that I don't like. And I don't care if the price is high as long as I know that I'm right. But I'm saying not everybody act to think this way. And correct me if I'm wrong, but things getting worse here every fucking day. Not at any cost, at any time will I betray myself. Talk the talk and walk the line. Not at any cost, at any time, and not for anyone, not for anyone.
Fredrik Granberg, welcome to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda.
Thank you very much. It's
Fredrik,
an honor.
Yes, well, it is an honor for me as well. I'm wondering if you can just start off and spend a moment and introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners out there so they know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Fredrik Granberg. As you said, I play drums in a punk band from Sweden called Randy. Later on, Randy the Band.
Yeah.
We haven't played that much in the last couple of years. You know, time goes by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
You say you will have a little break, and all of a sudden, 15 years passes by. You know.
Yeah.
But that's what I do for my full-time job. I work at a concert hall, booking shows.
Man, that's great. So
yeah.
you've managed to remain involved in music, even though Randy's kind of like up and down as far as activity and action goes.
Yeah, for sure. I have been doing this since 1999, you know, on and off. Now I'm at a new place, but before I worked at the same venue in Stockholm for 15 years, I think. And it was always the same thing, you know, every time we released a new album, I was like, see you guys. I'm becoming famous, you know. I won't be back. But
nice.
Fast forward 2 years, and there I was, hat in hand. You know, can I come back? I need a job. So it's been a part of my life too.
Yeah. You know, I have a question about the name of the band. So whenever you search for your band on the streaming services and stuff like that, so many things come up. I'm curious about like talking about Randy versus Randy the Band, like where the name adaptation came in. Like, tell me a little bit about that backstory. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. I mean, we started out in the first record came out in 92, but I guess we formed a couple of years before that. We had a band before Randy with a Swedish name. And I mean, the name was just us being like 16 years old and
Mm-hmm.
looking stuff up in a dictionary.
Yeah.
And Randy Horny, yeah, that sounds fun. So it wasn't like this huge master plan behind it. We didn't even think about it. But later on, it's a really bad googling name. So we added the band. I'm not sure why. Maybe it sounded better. I don't know, actually. It just happened.
Nice.
So yeah.
And you've been there since day one, haven't you? You're an original member. You've been there the entire time.
Yeah, it was me and Stefan, my cousin. We grew up together from when I was 7 years old. Our houses were like 20 meters apart. So we've been playing, since I was maybe 7 years, 8 years old.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, the earliest years and the formation and the influences of Randy, because Propagandy, as you know, forms like in 86-ish with Chris and Jord in the middle of Portage La Prairie in Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were kind of forming around the same time. Tell me about, because your stories overlap in so many fascinating ways. I'm wondering if you can tell me a little about what was inspiring you guys a lot at the time to come out with the original sound that you did, because what Randy started as and what Randy becomes is so vastly different. Tell me a little bit about those early days when you guys were forming and when Propagandy was forming too.
Yeah, I mean, we started, punk rock, I guess, was the only option. If you just started a band, heavy metal was too hard. And me and my cousin, we were into a lot of Swedish old punk bands. So we just, we started doing that, and we sang in Swedish. And then around 1990, we grew up in a town called Piteå in the north of Sweden. And it's like in the middle, it's between Umeå, where this, huge hardcore scene. Yeah, exactly. And another city called Luleå, where bands like Breach and Fireside started. And, we just got a hold of, I think it was Pelle, who then played in a band called Skimbuck or Superdong, who later on became Fireside. We just met those guys, and then we met Dennis, who then played in a band called Step Forward, later on Refused.
Mm-hmm.
And we discovered that there were a lot of other punk bands it was it's not super close, it's like 1 hour car drive to Luleå and 2-3 hours to Umeå. But we started hanging out, and they, especially like Pelle and Dennis, they introduced us to all those American bands, in Umeå it was a lot of straight edge music, so it was Minor Threat, Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits, and Pelle, he was the first one who played Bad Religion and NoFX.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, in that time it kind of exploded, especially in the north of Sweden. So when we formed Randy, we were really into NoFX and Bad Religion, especially NoFX, and then I remember when How to Clean Everything came out. It was like we were writing letters to Fat Mike directly, because he was in charge of Fat Wreck at those. It was him, So we ordered every record that came out. So I think the first one was Lagwagon, and then the Propagandy record came out, and it was life-changing. It was #mind blown. It was something I haven't heard before. It was so melodic and so political and so fast and everything. So we were really, really into it.
Awesome. I know that you mentioned in an email that you kind of were joking around a little bit when we were corresponding before recording. But you were like, yeah, we kind of just like copied parts of like what we heard from Propaganda, and we were just trying to make it go even faster. So to me, like the rest is Silence, the Randy album is kind of like it reminds me a lot of the I'd Rather Be Flag Burning 10-inch from Propaganda. And it's kind of like that interim period between How to Clean Everything and Less Talk, More Rock. I feel like that really captures a lot of what Randy was doing on The Rest Is Silence. Talk to me about like that influence of discovering Propaganda and then going into like that 1995, 1996, like writing and recording for The Rest Is Silence. Cause I'm curious about the influence that they had on you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was very influential, the How to Clean Everything record. And our first record, There's No Way We're Gonna Fit In. It was kind of, it was a lot of propaganda in that record, but also we had a different bass player at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of NoFX influences as well, and other stuff. But when we started writing songs for The Rest Is Silence, I mean, it's such a long time ago, I hardly remember anything, but I remember we were really into a lot of heavy metal bands at that time as well. It was like we listened a lot to Queensryche and Anthrax and Corrosion. What's the name?
Corrosion of Conformity.
Corrosion of Conformity. Yeah.
Yes.
So we were like listening to a lot of that stuff, and then we just wanted to play like as fast as humanly possible. I think that at the time we had like we were unemployed, so instead of going to the unemployment office, we got like 6 or 12 months at working like this European Union something. We got paid to rehearse actually. So that's what we did. We played table tennis and we rehearsed for like 12 hours a day for almost a full year, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, we just wanted to play super fast and super technical. And when I listen to that stuff now, I'm kind of blown away because we were like 20 or something at the time. But I guess you can hear that we practiced a lot, you know.
You know, I'm curious about, the band now. Do you guys have any interest at all these days in being like, hey, we should try to learn some of these Rest Is Silence songs again? Like, does that ever come up, or do you try to hit a wide variety in your set list, or do you kind of like stick with what the band has become? I'm just curious if these songs are like able to be resurrected ever, or if it's kind of like this is a time and place, we've moved on from that.
No, I mean, I would love to do it, but we haven't played since 2017, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we had so many transformations during the years, you know. But we actually played some of the songs from The Rest Is Silence, but this is also like 10 15 years ago. But a lot of the kids that came to our shows then didn't really haven't heard the older songs, so it was kind of, when we played them, it was like, oh no, fuck this, they are staring at us, you know.
Wow.
But I mean, if we would get together at one point again eventually, I mean, we never split up, but we also never ever, you know, it's just on a hiatus, you know.
Sure.
I would love to do it, you know. I'm not sure if I would be able to do it, you know, because it's really physical demanding, and we're not like schooled musicians in any way. So it's, you know, I have all the bad techniques for playing drums, and especially fast, you know, I tense up and I cramp and stuff like that. But I, you know, with YouTube and stuff, some of the older shows have been like, you know, surfacing, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, and it's even faster live. So, but you know, I wouldn't say no. I guess there would be some people who would enjoy that. But it's really, you know, those early albums compared to the later ones, it's such a
totally different band.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You know, I was actually watching some of those. I watched the 1995 set yesterday. Are you the one posting all of that on Randy's Facebook? Or are you kind of like in charge of that?
Yeah, that's me.
Well, you're doing a great job because there's so many really cool old artifacts that you've been posting on Randy's Facebook page just to kind of show the eras of the band. And it's really, really cool what you're doing over there. So definitely keep doing that because I am personally enjoying it a lot. I'm curious about your mindsets back then too, because I think about a song like At Any Cost. It's so aligned with like what Propaganda was doing, like lyrically. What was kind of like the ideas that were inspiring you guys around those mid '90s years?
Well, it was Stefan, my cousin. He wrote all the lyrics and almost all of the songs. But I mean, for us, we were really political, and I mean, we were young. We were like 18, 20 years old. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff was really hard to get a grip on. When I first started listening to Propaganda, like, what the fuck is this? It's really, a kind of complicated stuff. And I bought a lot of Noam Chomsky books, and I was like, whoa, this is hard, dude, to even get into. But we were all vegetarians and vegans, and we were like really, it was really important to us. We were a really, really political band. And I think in some sense that maybe was like a reason why we didn't get bigger, commercially, because a lot of people were like, especially in Sweden, the whole like skate punk scene was a lot of, humor. You were supposed to be funny, and and we were like really, really serious all of the time. And people kind of, it flew over a lot of people's head, the kids coming to the shows are like, we just want to go to a punk show and get drunk and have fun. Right. What the fuck are these guys talking about?
Yeah, they're lecturing me.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, we toured a lot with Refused. So it was like, maybe not, it was a friendly competition between us, becoming better as a live band, and the lyrics and everything. It was, we got pumped of each other.
I love it. Well, let's bring Propaganda to the equation because it's a band that you go on to tour with, you go on to work with at G7. What is the beginning of your relationship like with the band Propaganda, like Chris and Jordan, everybody?
I actually don't really. I think we were on a Swedish record label called Ampersand when we released "You Can't Keep a Good Band Down." Album on that label, and and that was a guy named Jose, who he also had a label named Desperate Fight Records, which was like a straight edge label from Umeå. So Ampersand was an under label, and I think it was him who got in touch with them and sent the record, or they maybe contacted him. I'm not sure. But eventually we ended up on G7, and for us that was like the only label we wanted to be on. There were, and I mean, like, commercially it would maybe have been smarter to strive for Epitaph or Fat Wreck or something, but we never thought in those ways. We're like, G7, it's Propaganda's label, this is awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Epitaph and Fat a couple of times too, because you both bands, Propaganda and Randy, both go on to work with Fat, obviously.
Yeah.
Both go on to work with Epitaph. So like you and Propaganda have been on G7, Epitaph, and Fat. Both bands have been on all three of those labels. It's really funny.
Yeah, and still to this day, G7 and Fat Wreck, they've been like really, really like super honest with all the economical stuff, G7, they sent us all these, like, not invoices, but you sold one CD in the last 6 months. Here's, the payout is too small. It's 18 cents, but we still got all the documentations, and the same thing with Fat Wreck, and that's, that's nothing that's been happening with all our other labels, but
That's
yeah.
great. Did you so what was the correspondence like with Chris and Jord, who are running the label? Were they kind of like your point people for the business end of it?
No, we actually, everything went through Ampersand Records. So I'm not sure when we started to get in touch, like, personally. I think it was right before when we did the tour together in 2001.
Oh,
Yeah, because I think You Can't Keep a Good Man Down was released by G7, but then we released the Human Atom Bombs, and that went, Epitaph released that one. So I'm not really sure about all the business stuff that led up to that, but I think it was around, like, late 99, early 2000, I think.
awesome. Okay, well,
But
definitely.
I can't. I could, remember this all wrong, but I think so.
Okay, well, I'm definitely curious about this tour as well. So I know the tour was called the Humanitarian Intervention Tour Part 2 because
Yeah.
they did previous one with Avail, which was, the original Humanitarian Intervention Tour, but in support of Today's Empires, Tomorrow's Ashes.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely curious about your memories of this tour because I was supposed to be at the September 12th, 2001 date in St. Louis, Missouri at the Creepy
Yeah.
Crawl.
Mhm.
And obviously that got canceled because September 11th happens. You and Propaganda are probably in a hotel room around Lawrence, Kansas or Kansas City watching
Yeah.
things happen. I'm just like,
I
tell me,
think so.
I'm super curious about this, just what you remember about this tour in general, because you only did about half the dates and then
Yeah.
it all went wrong. So tell me some stories here.
Well, I'm really bad at, like, saving stuff. I don't even remember where we played, and I remember why it got canceled and everything that happened afterwards. But I think we did like 6 or 7 shows or something like that, and we were like, stupid Swedes. I remember I didn't even know what the fuck is the Twin Towers. I was like, and this was like before the internet existed, but it was like super expensive. You couldn't check it on your phone.
Right.
So the day of the September 11th, we went to the venue and we're like, what the fuck? It's been an accident or whatever. So we were like really surprised that it got canceled because Propaganda, they took a run for it. And now I understand it now because they were like super political band. They had all this merch and books, and they were like, I guess they were, kind of scared in a way. But we did a couple of shows, and they were all great. I mean, they were great guys and all the crew and everything. And to this day, I really like. It's such a bummer that we couldn't do the whole tour. And then, I mean, we had discussions after this to do other stuff together, but it's been hard because since like 2008. People started to getting kids in the band, and the priorities shifts.
Yeah.
So it's been hard for us to do it. But it was an amazing time.
What
sure.
what did you guys, Randy? What did Randy do when Propaganda? So Propaganda's leaving the country. What happens? What happens next for you guys?
Well, we left too. But I think maybe we were like 24 hours behind them. And it was, before cell phones and stuff like that. So I don't really remember what we thought. We were like, let's go back to Winnipeg, I guess. That's where we flew in, and we stayed at George's house. And I think we did that like a couple of days before the tour. And that's where we ended up when it got canceled. For what I remember, it must have been like almost 2 weeks, because we had another tour in Canada planned after the one with Propaganda. So we had to like wait it out. This was in the western parts, the other two, or the eastern parts, I mean.
Oh my gosh. So you left the US, went
Yeah.
up to Winnipeg as a band.
Mhm.
Were there any border issues or anything related to you guys being from Sweden and having all these like boxes and gear and everything and like getting back into Canada? Was that hard at all given the time period?
No, not at all. And I mean, we were
Perfect.
like so young, so I don't think we even thought it would be an issue with anything. I
Amazing.
remember when going into the US, we had this thing in Sweden called snus. It's like tobacco you put down your lip. And I remember when we crossed the border over to the US, we were like, do you think maybe we get in jail if we get caught with this? And it's like normal tobacco. So I remember we threw it out the window before we passed the border. But apart from that, there was no issues.
Do you remember anything about that time of like just like hanging out at George's house for 2 weeks waiting for your next tour to start?
Yeah, it was super fun. And I remember they when they got back from the tour and they rehearsed in the basement of George's house. So they started like rehearsing the same day we got back there. And I remember we were like, what the fuck are they doing? They are playing the same old song to rehearsing now. We couldn't really understand the dedication or whatever you want to call it. We thought it was confusing. We didn't do that,
So you got to like sit there in George's house and like basically listen to Propaganda practices for days
on end. Yeah. It was amazing, and we were like just hanging out. It was a lot of fun. But then, like after the first week, I guess we got kind of bored. So that's when we asked some of the guys, it might have been George or Chris, if there was a studio that we could record some songs in. And that's where the Cheater EP came along.
Really?
Yeah.
So Cheater, so let's go into this real quick. So you have You Can't Keep a Good Band Down LP out on G7. Randy's on the Take Penicillin Now compilation, which comes later. But then you have the Cheater EP. So Randy had some songs. You were in Winnipeg for weeks and you decided to make Cheater in Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Burning Heart, our Swedish label at the time, they wanted us to record like a mini CD. So that's why we did it. And I think that G7 asked if they could get. I don't think that Epitaph didn't want to release it. They didn't want to release the Human Atom Bombs almost because they thought it was too fucked up. They changed all the track listing of the album because in the like European version, that record starts with the song Chicken Shack. Which is like kind of it's a really fucked up song to start an album with, but that's how we wanted to do it. But they didn't think it was commercially clever to do so. And I guess that's right. So I think they did switch it up and started with Addicts of Communication or something like that.
So Human Atom Bombs has a totally different track listing in the European version?
Yeah, for sure.
Like a different sequence. Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm still to this day really pissed off about that because that's what the fuck. It's a punk album.
What do you remember about the Cheater sessions in Winnipeg?
We rehearsed in George's basement. That much I know. And we did, I think all the songs were new. We haven't played them before. So Cheater, and I think we recorded like 4 songs or something like that. So we rehearsed them and kind of made them. I guess Stefan already written them, but we rehearsed them, and then we rented some studio in Winnipeg. I don't remember where, but the guys from Propaganda set us up, I think, and we went there and recorded it in like 1 or 2 days.
Do you remember who like engineered or anything?
No,
I have to look all that
I
up.
don't. Yeah, it was this heavy metal dude. He was not, he didn't know nothing about punk, from what I remember, anyways.
Interesting.
So that version of Cheater on that EP is like different from the one that ended up. We re-recorded it for the Randy the Band album that came out in 2005. Or no, it was on the Welfare Problems, 2003. So that's song, and we had Chris sang backup vocals on that one.
I was going to ask about that. I found an old punknews.org review or an Exclaim review or something that said that the guys from Propaganda did backing vocals. So Chris is just Chris on the Cheater EP doing backups?
Yeah.
Very fun. Very fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay, well, Fredrik, I got a couple questions about Propaganda. What is your favorite Propaganda record as a fan of the band?
Well, I mean, the first one was so influential on me. So, I mean, and since you emailed me, I went back and listened to all the other records. And I mean, it maybe it doesn't hold up 100% from all these years, but I would that the first one is definitely the most like crucial one for me. But then like I also like the Supporting Cast album a lot. There were some years when I like lost interest in punk music altogether, so there were some records that I kind of didn't listen to at all. But the Supporting Cast is if I had to choose one, I guess it would be that one.
Nice.
And later on, it's like it's evolved to this other thing in a sense. It's a lot more technical. It's even more kind of metal in a way. And I like the new one as well. But the first two, they have a special place in my heart.
I love that. Well, it's really interesting to think about your band and Propaganda as well, because if you think about where each band started, like the sound that you both had, Randy and Propaganda at the very beginning, the trajectory of where the sounds for both bands go, the evolution in both bands is rather stunning. You know what I mean? It's a really cool path to trace the beginnings of Randy and the beginnings of Propaganda and see where those two bands go with their sounds over the years, because it is an evolving sound throughout the years. And to me, that's like what great artists do, is like they really are open to new pathways. And when a new pathway opens up, they kind of go for it. And it kind of doesn't really matter a whole heck of a lot what some of the expectations are of what people may be wanting to hear. Like the amount of people out there who would love, Less Talk More Rock Part 2 is pretty profound, but that's not what they're going to do, And so I like the fact that both of your bands followed your creative hearts instead of just giving people the same stuff over and over. It's really pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. And for us in Randy, it was never like a master plan. We just, we got really bored with stuff pretty fast, So when we did the Rest is Silence, and then we did the You Can't Keep a Good Band Down, it's like almost in a way a completely different band, But at that time we were really into Thin Lizzy and a lot of heavy metal stuff as well. So we never even thought about, is this like, will people be upset? We won't be playing fast songs anymore. We just did what we thought we needed to do,
Yeah. Were you, as the drummer, relieved when the songs slowed down a little bit? Chris is always talking about how Jord is always really bummed out during the Today's Empire sessions that the songs were getting faster and faster and faster. Like, were you kind of relieved when the sound changed a little bit? Did that kind of make you enjoy your job a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so, because it was a nightmare rehearsing the older songs at that
Yeah.
time when we wrote The Rest is Silence. I mean, we played for hours at end, and every song was 2000 BPM. So of course it was more of a sport in a sense than playing an instrument. It's like
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Fredrik, I am delighted that you were able to take the time with me to chat about G7, chat about tour, chat about your experiences and friendships with Chris, George, G7 Propagandy. It's really awesome to kind of connect with you and to chat about some of these stories. I love getting these oral histories from people who know the band and have had shared experiences in certain times and places. And the fact that you were on that 2001 canceled tour when 9/11 happened, I've been waiting for a story like this for a couple of years doing this podcast. So it's really awesome to finally hear kind of what that was like in that moment, realizing that, wow, we're fleeing the country now.
Yeah, and
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, another funny memory from that tour. I remember when we got back to George's house, and we drank a lot at that time, and they had built this pentagon out of beer cases for like a surprise gift when we came back. So we had that beer pentagon going for all that time. It was kind of hilarious. Amazing.
Well, Fredrik, thank you so much for joining me to chat about Propagandy and the history of Randy the band. It's been a real pleasure, man.
It's been an honor. Actually. Really fun to be a guest on the
This last
show.
year I have changed my personality from pussy to revolutionary.